So today we're going to make a simple flower pot in Blender. So I shift A and I get a cylinder, and I'm just going to lower the amount of vertices to 16. I then just going to scale this and make it in the shape that I want for my plant pot. I then go into edit mode. I select the bottom edge and I scale it inwards to create our shape for our plant pot. I'm then just going to add a loop cut right there where you can see I've added a loop cut. I'm going to select the faces around that edge, so you can shift and select all the faces. And I'm going to extrude from normals and bring that section out a little bit. Once that's completed, I click the top face and I extrude that inwards a little bit and scale it in as well. I am then going to delete that top face. I'm going to add a shift A, I get a circle, and I'm just going to move that and scale that circle a little bit smaller, and I'm also going to move it up. I'm going to go to face and grid fill that. I'm then going to just select random faces in this plant pot and click proportionality, so I can just move it around. In the end, I ended up clicking in individualized faces and just kept sort of moving it. This is to create like a soil effect for our plant pot. Once that's done, I add a subdivision surface modifier. And this just sort of, adds a curve to our model, and I shade it smooth. I'll go into edit mode. I'm going to add another loop cut and move it down, just to add more shape to the bottom of our plant pot. I'm also going to add a loop cut at the top, just to add those little bit of edges and make the plant pot look a bit more realistic. So there we go, we basically now have our plant pot. I am then, and I'm going to get a Bezier curve. Now this is for like the stem of our plant. And I can use the cores to sort of move the curve if I would like. I go to the options and I am going to up the depth very slightly. I'm also going to up the resolution, also fill the caps. I'm then going to make a leaf, so I'm going to shift A, get a plane. I'm going to then size that plane a bit smaller, make it a bit less wider using the scale tool. I'm then going to bring that up. I'm going to be adding some loop cuts. I'm just going to add lots of loop cuts to this plane so I can make the shape of the leaf. So I select that lower edge, scale it inwards. So yeah, as you can see, I am just adding some shape to my leaf. I'm just adding some more loop cuts in the middle there. I'm going to select those edges and just move them down a little bit. So I'm just trying to select those inner faces, or edges, sorry. And I'm just gonna extrude, move that out. I add a subdivision modifier. Also gonna add a solidify and make it slightly thicker. I also shade it smooth. I then apply my modifiers. I then move my leaf into place and I can also rotate it a little bit, you know, make it smaller just so I can put it in place on my stem. I then duplicate it and move it to the other side. So yeah, I just, you know, move the leaves in place on where I like it. And there we go. Now I add a mesh. I'm going to add a cube. And I basically shape that cube. I add a subdivision modifier to make this sort of shape. I also hit the rest of the object, so you know, I set the point to the midpoint, as you can see what I did there. I then turn on that option, as you can see on the screen. I add a modifier, the array modifier. I set the offset on the empty, so I added an empty in the center as well. And then as you can see, I up the amount, and then I go to rotation and I rotate the petals around. So basically just follow the steps that I've done on the screen to create our flower. And we also need to make sure we apply the modifier, but I'm just gonna edit the petal the way I would like it first. So you know, you can move it a little bit, scale it a little bit, make it smaller, however you wish your flower to be. And once we have adjusted that, we need to make sure we apply our modifier. So once we have sort of got what we wanted with with our flower and applied our modifiers, I'm gonna then unhide my plant pot and the rest of my sections, and then I am just gonna essentially move my flower in place on top of the stem, and I'm just gonna, you can resize the flower, make it slightly smaller, and just adjust it accordingly on the plant pot. And we can also just get rid of that empty as well. I also go Shift A, I get another circle. I go into edit mode and I'm just going to fill that face, make it slightly smaller. This is just to make like the center of our flower essentially. I then add a solidify modifier, make it slightly thicker. And there we go, I just move it in position of how I would like it. And there we go, we have a very simple flower.